Hello, and welcome to History 380, Introduction to Public History. This is just kind of a basic introductory video that's going to talk to you a little bit about what this course is. We're going to look at the syllabus, we're going to look at the schedule, and then we'll look at the Blackboard site. So first of all, this course is basically an introduction to the methods of public history, focusing on museum studies, but we'll also include some things on archival practice, exhibit development, a little bit about editing, oral history, and so forth. This is also a course that offers some initial preparation for public history careers. So I think it's an interesting course. I think it's one that is one of our more directly applicable courses. So course readings, you don't need to buy any textbooks for this class. All the course readings are available on Blackboard. Classroom responsibilities. We're supposed to put this in our syllabi. Obviously, we're not meeting in a class. This class is completely online, but it's still important to follow the basic ideas of being courteous, communicating your concerns, keeping up with all the work, and so forth, and not cheating and the like. Some course policies, academic dishonesty. So if you copy or something like that, or let someone copy off you or cheat on a quiz, that can result in a 0 for the assignment. If it's really bad, an F for the grade, whole semester, the whole class. So please do avoid doing that. In particular, make sure people do their own work. Don't do someone else's work for them. People I find who are like that are just lazy users that they try and get other people to do their work for them. They're like, oh, poor me, I have all these problems. Please do my assignment. Let me copy whatever. It's better just to not have people like that in your lives. So do not do other people's work for them. The assignments, all assignments need to be uploaded onto Blackboard, not emailed to me. You can email me an assignment. For some reason, Blackboard is down, and I will accept that to show that the, so you don't get a late penalty, but I won't grade it until it's actually on Blackboard. So it's very important that everything's on Blackboard. It's all got to be there in the same place, not just emailed to me. If you upload if you do not upload in a readable format, that will result in a 5% penalty to your grade. So, if it was like a grade worth 50 points, you would lose like 2 or 3 points. And I will not grade it until submitted in the correct format. So it would just eventually become a 0 if you never bothered to put it in the right format. And you'll know if I can read it, if after you've uploaded it, you can read it. Blackboard should automatically show you your assignment after you've uploaded it. If you can't read it, I can't read it. Late assignments will suffer a penalty of 5% for each day they are late, to a maximum penalty of 50%. Late assignments will not be accepted after 11:59 p.m. of the Tuesday of the final week of classes. There's a lot of Blackboard quizzes in this class that need to be taken by the dates noted in the schedule. The quizzes are open note, but not open friend. Please do them on your own. They are timed with 1 minute being given for each question, with the exception being the web scavenger hunt quizzes. Those are quizzes where I will ask questions based on information you have to find on a website, and those will take longer, so you have 30 minutes to complete those. You are allowed 2 makeups for such issues as technology problems or because you forgot a quiz and missed the deadline. You can do that twice. But to qualify for it, it's important, or rather it's necessary, that you request the makeup within 24 hours of when the quiz was due. So if a quiz was due by 11:59 p.m. Sunday, you have to let me know by 11:59 p.m. Monday that you had a problem or you forgot or something, and then I'll reopen the quiz. But you have to do it by that date. Right, so keep that in mind, that you have to let me know immediately if you forget a quiz or if you had a technology problem. Changes to syllabus. I reserve the right to make future revisions to the syllabus. Computer requirements. One thing I really have to stress, this class does expect that you do things on a computer, not on a cell phone. Some people try and take an online class only using a cell phone. That is not possible with this class. You're going to be using things like Audacity and Shotcut and other computer programs. You also need to have an internet connection so that you can regularly access and answer email and complete coursework in a timely manner. There are discussion posts. There's a discussion area on the Blackboard website. I'll open those on Wednesdays of weeks 1 through 5, and you must respond no later than 11:59 p.m. Sunday of that week to the prompt I give. Late responses will not be accepted. You'll just get a 0. Each discussion response should be at least 100 words in length and is worth 10 points. Grade appeals. This doesn't happen too often in a class like that, but I'll just note that all appeals for changes to grades must be rated in writing. Email is acceptable, but individual meetings will not take place unless the written appeal is deemed sufficient. Requests for individual bonus assignments, the reopening of old Blackboard quizzes, or a change of grade based on such reasons as a need for a certain GPA to maintain a scholarship are adjusted to other students who will therefore be rejected. There is actually an inclement weather policy for online classes, and I would encourage you to look at it more closely. And you may say, why is it that there's an inclement weather policy for online classes? I mean, it's online. Well, what might happen is you may be up in Greenville and there's a really bad thunderstorm and the electricity goes out, but things here in Greenwood, where I'm at and where all the stuff is, everything's fine. So in such circumstances, you need to contact me and let me know your issues as soon as possible, and we'll come up with reasonable accommodations to take care of you. The Lander University and the American Disabilities Act, if you have a physical or learning disability, you must contact the Lander University Wellness Center to receive reasonable accommodations. Once the Wellness Center has received appropriate documentation, I will be informed of approved accommodations, not of the nature of the disability. So do keep that in mind. Please note, though, you don't get accommodations that aren't listed. Accommodations are not retroactive. And I don't give accommodations unless you actually have gone to talk to the ADA. I've had people say, well, I've got this issue and that issue. I have a doctor's note. And I'm like, nope, that has to go through the Student Wellness Center. So keep that in mind. There is an online class requirement section that you need to consider. And I'm just going to read this because this is really official. This class is being taught as an online or hybrid course. Online and hybrid courses are much different than conventional classes and accordingly have different student requirements and expectations. Student in this course will be required to have access to a functioning computer. I'm really trying to emphasize it. That's why it's here twice. Reliable internet connections, and any additional equipment required by the course. And I want to stress you have to have a computer that can run video editing software such as Audacity and Shotcut. They're cheap and free, and they should be able to be used on most computers, but I don't believe you can use them on a cell phone. Students will expected to work independently and adhere to the schedule set forth in the course syllabus. Students will be expected to log into Blackboard on a consistent basis as defined by individual instructors and check their Lander University email daily. Especially I want to stress, check your email daily. That's the main way I get to you. I won't go over the Title IX policies because you've all had a lot of Title IX training. I just want to note that if you do feel like your rights have been violated in a way relevant to Title IX, all the information, including who to contact, can be found here. So to talk about the grade breakdown, so there are Blackboard quizzes every week based on the videos and readings. There's those web scavenger hunt quizzes. We have those almost every week, but not every week. There's one week we don't have one. Every week there's a response paper due based on the readings and the videos. There is a museum exhibit critique paper. That's a kind of its own assignment where you talk about a museum exhibit. Those can be done online if for some reason it's safe. When I'm actually recording this when COVID-19 is still a major problem. So, you can complete this assignment virtually. Don't endanger yourself to do it. There's an oral history project proposal worth 25 points, an oral history transcript. So you'll actually do like an oral history interview worth 50 points. There are museum project reports. And this is what I think is really fun about this class is how much of it is you creating what we would call a deliverable product. A lot of classes you take, mostly your grades are just exams. Sometimes there's a paper. But here you're actually making media, right? Or something that is really kind of applied. So for oral history transcript, that's where you have an oral history interview and with someone you transcribe part of it. So that means recording someone. The museum project you are going to make, and I'll talk more about this in another video, you actually make your own museum exhibit. Or at least you plan one out. And I think that's really cool. It's very practical. So those reports help to get you, keep you up with that assignment. Of course, to do a museum exhibit, you have to do research. You have to know something if you're going to make a museum exhibit. So that's why there's a museum secondary sources report and a museum primary source report. The whole museum project is worth 150 points, and that has several parts that I'm going to go over later. For this class, you will also make a podcast related to your museum exhibit. And as part of that, there's a podcast preparation template to help you get ready to make a podcast. You will also make a documentary, and there's a documentary preparation template to help you with that. You will also have a want ad assignment. This is, like I said, this is meant to be really kind of an applied history course. So at the end of the class, there are will answer a want ad. You won't actually apply for the job, but you're going to find a job that you would like to have, hypothetically, and then write a letter request, asking for an interview, basically. And of course, there's a discussion post. When you total all that together, you get 1,005 points. And then I grade out of 1,000 points. If you get 900 points of those 1,005, you get an A. You get 800 points, but less than 900, you get a B, and so on and so forth. And so that's basically the syllabus. That's how that works. And so now we're going to move into the schedule and get a better idea of how that works. So having completed the syllabus portion of this video, we're now going to shift into the schedule. So first of all, one thing you'll notice is that the schedule is divided by week. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, week 5, and week 6. So the idea is that I tried for each week to come up with a theme to focus on, and then assignments and deliverable products that would help us understand that theme, to make sense of it. So for example, week 1, we're focusing on introduction to public history and museums. In week 2, we look at historical sites. That would be things like 96 and historical preservation. How do we keep old houses or old material objects? How do we keep those with us? How do we stop them from decaying? How do we preserve this kind of physical remains of history? In week 3, we would look at oral history and podcasts. And one thing I want to stress, in week 1 and 2, you're doing more kind of reading and listening and learning in that kind of more important way, but also more passive way. But week 3, we're going to see a shift in this class to where you're creating deliverable products. You're creating something that is not simple, well, something like a paper. You'll be writing basically short papers, but then you'll be making, for example, a podcast, or you'll be engaging in an oral history interview. So while I do have to have some articles and talk a little bit about what these things are, you'll notice that the number of readings and the number of videos you're going to be watching will go down, but you'll be expected to do more active work, creating kind of your own materials. The podcast, for example, would be something you would use as part of your museum exhibit. It should be something connected to the museum, something that can maybe get act as a form of advertising. Week 4, we'll move into digital history. So, for example, digital history includes things like how do people put things online. We're going to talk about history, and we're going to focus in particularly about documentaries. We'll also be doing some things with historical gaming. So there's a lot of video games that are historical in nature, and this will be a time we're going to also kind of look at those and consider how those can be used as a part of public history. In week 5, and also that's where you're going to make your own documentary. So a lot of times what you do is you'd be listening to some podcasts, then learn to make a podcast. Look at documentaries, see how you can make one. The 5th week, which is the final full week, we'll be looking at like archives, working as a librarian in professional editing. And that week is going to not be too difficult. There won't be as many readings, won't be as many videos. Your major project that you are going to complete will be your museum project. And I'll talk more about the museum project later on in this class. But that's kind of your major deliverable product, is this kind of museum exhibit you design. And then the last week, there's really only one day of class. So that is going to be focused on careers and reflections. You'll have this want-add assignment where you'll kind of pick a public history job and put together like a hypothetical application. And as the weeks go by, I will talk to you more about this, and some of these things may shift depending on how things go in the class. I can change assignments around and so forth. The major point I wanted you to see here was just how the class is organized. I do want to look closely at 1 week just so you can get a sense of how things are organized. So in a weekly basis. So what you should do is you would complete all readings in week 1, folder for week 1. You would watch all the lectures and videos in week 1, and then you would complete the following assignments and quizzes by Sunday, 11:59 p.m. For example, response paper 1, which is based on the readings and the videos. The week 1 discussion board post, which I talked about in the syllabus video section. The museum exhibit critique paper. So what happens is in each week, there might be special assignments, right? Pretty much every week has a response paper. Every week has a discussion board post. But then there'll be special assignments. And I'll produce like a video for each, similar to this one, for each week to kind of go through the assignments so that you'll have an idea of what's coming up. Then there's the web scavenger hunt quiz and the Blackboard quiz. And the idea is it makes sense that before you take the Blackboard quiz, you would do all this other stuff, because the Blackboard quiz is based on the readings and videos folder. These other things might help to reinforce that, and then you would take the Blackboard quiz. So I've organized things by week, and the idea of that is to give us some structure and also to emphasize one of the strong points of an online class, and that's the flexibility, right? So you can kind of choose when you're doing the work, but you want to make sure that you're giving yourself plenty of time to do the work. Remember, a week of an online class is approximately equal to 2.5 weeks of a fall or spring class. So that's a lot. And if this class was meeting in person, we would meet 8 hours approximately a week. So imagine that, right? You have to give yourself at least 8 hours to complete the class in addition to the homework. So make sure you give yourself plenty of time. Do not wait until Sunday at 6 p.m. to start doing your work. You won't get it done. And do not try and take like 3 summer classes ever. I should only take 2 at most. And do not try and do that while working 40 hours a week. It just doesn't work. I really have to stress that. I say that a lot. And the reason is because I'll have people take a summer class and fail it. And so they spent money to hurt themselves, right? It would have been better if they would have either had just not taken the class. So just keep that in mind. So there's a flexibility there, but that you do want to make sure to give yourself plenty of time. But that gives you an idea of this class. I don't want to, in this section on such a sour note, of berating people about making sure they give themselves enough time. I think this is a cool class because you learn a lot about historians doing things other than teaching in a classroom or writing papers, right? It's kind of broadening our horizon, see, oh, these are all the different things you can do with a history degree. Isn't this cool? And also it leads to deliverable products like a podcast or a documentary. And those are things you can share when you're applying for a job. Oh, look, I made this. And I think that it just sounds so powerful. Hey, here's this YouTube video I made. It's online. Here's the address if you want to check it out. You can put that in your letter. I did when I was applying for jobs. And I think that helped me. So like I said, I'm excited about this. And now we're going to have a look at the Blackboard part of this class to give you a better idea of how things work on the actual Blackboard. So here we can see the History 380 Blackboard site. So you should see a link in your Blackboard that would lead to History 380. You would choose that link and it should bring you to something that looks like this. You can see we've got the syllabus and schedule that we went over. So you've got access to those documents should you need them. You can see there's the discussions. So when there's a discussion due, you would click on that and that's where you would find the discussions. And then you can see everything organized by week. And also I have an old folder. This is where I'll put documents that we're kind of done with. You can look through that if you want to see some old links and stuff from this class. But it's just sometimes there's stuff I have to put up temporarily. And I use that to put it away later so there won't be this won't be cluttered up. But like I said, everything's by week. So when it says, week 1, pretty much everything for week 1 can be found in the week 1 folder. All right, so if we click on that, first of all, there's the response paper. So if you click on it, that will allow you to upload the response paper. We don't want to do that now. But if we click on this, that would open then the response paper or let us save it. We'll look at the response paper later. If you remember, it said that you should do the week 1 readings. We click on the week 1 readings. There they are. And if you click on them, it should open automatically. You could read them. You could also right click to save it. Save link as. And one thing I want to point out, I'm using Firefox. And sometimes if you try and use Safari or Microsoft Edge or anything else, sometimes Blackboard doesn't like it. So if you have trouble downloading PDFs, that's typically why. But, there's 5 readings here that you would need to do. Then there is also a video folder. And you can see there's the various videos that you can open. And if you click on these, it will open in a link. So there's a video, What is Public History? Museum tour. Some of these are lectures that I give. Some of these, so the exhibits one is an example of a lecture I give. The other one is, this is an example though of a tank museum talk. There's also a section here, New Home for African American Treasures on the new African American Museum in Washington, D.C. So pretty straightforward. You click on these, you get a YouTube link. Then there's the quizzes that you would take. And then there's the link for the web scavenger hunt. So you can see there's different assignments. There's different things here. And as the course progresses, this may change. The idea here, I just want you to see the principle around which I'm kind of organizing this. So that gives you a good sense of what's on Blackboard. Having watched this video, you should have a really good idea of what this class is about and how you interact with it. So all that being said, I wish you good luck, and I'm looking forward to working with you.